Yes, you read that right. Yes, there is a $10 million bailout for the city of Fort Wayne. We've got a lot to get to today. Thank you for joining. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Got a lot to cover today. We've got some positive stuff, but we are gonna start with something kind of serious and kind of disappointing. It was recently announced that the city of Fort Wayne needs $10 million in the form of a bailout to cover its expenses. So for those of you who don't know, the city of Fort Wayne is self-insured, meaning that they essentially pay out of pocket or self-pay for health care, for their employees, any lawsuits against employees of the city, et cetera. And unfortunately, for the first time, there is not enough money budgeted to cover these expenses. So City Council just voted 6-1 in favor of the bailout. And a little bit of a backstory. So from 2018 to 2022, we were setting aside more money than we needed. So they started to have an excess and that money started to grow. And if you've paid attention to the government, having extra money is a bad thing, it seems. Sorry, a little tongue-in-cheek, no offense to anyone who's involved in this. But so in 2023, expenses grew faster than they expected. And they've actually grown at an average of 10.3% every year since. So for the last 3 years, basically, they've grown at around 10%. And so we don't have enough money to cover our expenses. So here's where it gets a little dicey. So Nick Jordan, the deputy controller for the city of Fort Wayne, basically said that, they needed this money. They're gonna have to make some changes for 2027. He said, best case scenario is that this $10 million will get us through 2027. So that's best case scenario. He asked if, if he was confident that they would remain solvent, the city would remain solvent. And he said no, and it's a week-to-week basis. So despite $10 million, it's week-to-week on if we're gonna be able to cover it. And his explanation, which I kind of get, he's like, I can't predict exactly what's gonna happen. He's like, last week we had a major, expense, a settlement, I believe. And so, he's like, I can't always anticipate what's coming. Still, being week to week after a $10 million shortfall is not ideal. So one thing that's being proposed is changing the arrangement. Right now, city employees can choose their healthcare provider. So about 87% go through Parkview, around 10% go through Lutheran, and about 1% go through IU Health, which I assume will continue to increase, especially once they build a new hospital. And if we went to a single payer, like we used to be, if we went through Parkview, they'd give us a discount. It's estimated that we would save around 11% if we went to a single payer, and they estimated that the city's already lost around $6.5 million having different, I think, the PHP freedom that they have right now. So it's a little, that seems like a no-brainer to me. I obviously need to know more details, but obviously a $10 million shortfall, very concerning. Still being week to week is very concerning. And it seems like if we can shave, $6 million off the budget, or 11% just through going single payer when 87% are already at Parkview anyways, that seems like a no-brainer. This is a situation that we're gonna have to monitor. Obviously, there's a lot of parts at play, and this is a little bit advanced, so I don't wanna act like an expert on the subject, but what I read was frankly very troubling. And it's hard to know that we're spending money on art and new bridges and new murals, and we're not able to pay our bills. So that's a little concerning. I know that, maybe they come from different sources, but still the optics aren't ideal. I'm very curious to see how we navigate this, because we're always being ranked for how well we're run. Generally I've always considered us fairly fiscally conservative up until probably the last 10 years or so. It seems like we've spent quite a bit more. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. All right, some good news on the north side of Union Chapel Road. So that's the north side of town, a very popular, busy road, increasingly so. They are extending 1.5 miles of the Pufferbelly Trail. And why that's important is that's gonna connect all those neighborhoods through there to the schools. So Maple Creek Middle, Perry Hill Elementary, Oakview Elementary are all right there, at Union Chapel and Coldwater. So this is gonna run from Corbin Road by the Life Bridge Church all the way over to the other side of Auburn Road and connect to the existing trail. So that's pretty cool. I think being able to walk to school, that wasn't something I did as a child, but I do think that's something that we should value. And if you don't have children, I do think that is an important and good thing to be able to walk, ride bikes, like not only for the exercise, it's less cars on the road. I think there's a lot of good benefits to it. It's gonna be done in two parts. So first is gonna be from the Lifebridge Church over to Coldwater Road, and then Coldwater Road over to Auburn Road. So hopefully it doesn't disrupt traffic too much. I was over there getting some content that hopefully you're seeing right now, and it looks like they're able to stay off the road. I'm sure there'll be some disruption, but overall I think this is a good thing in increasing the trail's connectivity. So speaking of murals, I kind of referenced them, maybe not in the most positive light. I do like them, okay? I like murals, I think they're nice. The mayor just announced that there's a new mural in East Central. So East Central is the neighborhood just east of downtown. Everybody knows West Central. That's really popular. Prices shot through the roof. East Central's got a little ways to go. Sold a house over there recently. You know, it definitely has some room for improvement, but there's a very nice mural. Gives honor to important figures that have lived in the area, as well as some of the Indian tribes that inhabited the land before it was, you know, conquered and redeveloped. So the area was first home to the Miami tribe of Oklahoma, and there's sandhill cranes and plants, I think, that were important to the Miami tribe's culture. There's also silhouettes that depict people who have lived in the area, including City Council's first Black City Council member, and that was John Knuckles. I apologize if I'm not saying his name correct. It's Nuckols. I think that's Knuckles. So the mural's part of the city's Shout Out Fort Wayne. This is a public initiative to celebrate the history and identity of neighborhoods. I do think having unique identity is good for the neighborhoods. I think it can help with connectivity and you know, community pride, that kind of thing. As I said, as long as we're being fiscally responsible, I'm all for it. I think it's a good thing. So I've touched base on the Shoaff Park playground update. I love Shoaff Park. I feel like I say that in darn near every other video I make. They redid the whole playground, actually, not some of the playground equipment. And it was time, you know, even though it's across town, I take my kids there. You know, some of the slides were starting to crack. You know, some of the ground was getting kind of hollowed out from repeated play, and it was holding water. It definitely needed a facelift. I didn't realize they were going to redo the whole thing, but that is done. You should be seeing video of that right now. Looks good. I'll definitely be taking my kids over there. It's got turf now instead of mulch. I'm curious to see how that goes, because I know sometimes turf can get kind of hot, that like artificial turf, but you know, the good thing is you're not constantly replacing the mulch. Your kids aren't going to get as dirty. And I know, like, at the bottom of slides, sometimes it would get, like I said, hollowed out earlier, but you know, basically from kids repeatedly going on it, and then water would pool there, and you wouldn't, you know, you'd go down the slide and land in a giant puddle. So, you know, hopefully that alleviates that. But, you know, as a Shoaff Park lover and supporter, being updated and renovated, and I think that's tax money very well spent. So you may have noticed there have been a lot of water main breaks, and essentially a lot of our infrastructure, it's time for an update, it's time for a facelift, not even a facelift, it's time for a revamp. Most recently, there was some delays on West Jefferson. Coliseum was shut down for a big break a few weeks back. So there's been a lot of problems. I know my parents' street has had multiple breaks, so the whole street's all tore up. It looks pretty rough, and they've lost a lot of trees and stuff. So sounds like it's definitely time, but the bad thing is we are way outpacing what they've expected for main breaks. So Deputy Director of City Utilities Matthew Wirtz said they expect X amount of breaks per 100 miles of pipe, and we're like way above that number. They expect about 150 to 200 breaks per year, and we've been averaging about 400. So we're twice what they've expected, and that's obviously a signal that something's off and probably needs to be fixed. So Wirtz said that breaks often occur from extreme heat and extreme cold, which we have. As I record this, it's I think like 96 degrees. I'm actually supposed to be at men's league golf right now, and my partner and I bailed. We're not doing it. And then we know in the winter, obviously it gets down single digits below zero. So all that heat and cold causes a lot of expanding and contracting, and then that breaks the water mains. Wirtz also said that hundreds of miles of pipe are from the 1800s. Some of it was redone in the 1970s. They're obviously very, very old and starting to deteriorate, and having full breaks instead of leaks. I think leaks are common with the soil moving, but these breaks are a big problem, and it's causing washout and a lot of other problems, plus, you know, resource water loss. So since 2001, the city has been tackling this problem. They've replaced about 180 miles of pipe with some plastic pipe that's supposed to last for 100 years, but we've got a long way to go. So I'm curious about how they budget it, kind of going back to, you know, the insurance thing. It's like this is one of those tough things for leadership where it's like nobody wants to spend money on infrastructure. It's not fun, it's not sexy, it's not pretty, it's not exciting. It is vital and necessary. You know, if we aren't insured and we don't have water, we're gonna have serious problems. So I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. They've got about 300 miles of pipe left to go. So since 2001, they've done 180. They've got another 300 to go. So that's not a great timeline. Hopefully they have a plan for that. So they're saying, you know, some of these breaks that we've seen that I referenced on Coliseum or Jefferson, you know, they might cause your water rates to go up. So unfortunately, if you see a rate increase, that's why they're trying to get money to fund these replacements. They are expecting to replace about 70 miles of pipe within the next 5 years. So they got 300 to go. In 5 years, they can get through 70 miles. So hopefully these breaks aren't too bad and we'll see how it goes. This is another one where I'm curious to see how it plays out because, again, not the most exciting thing talking about water, but it's vital to our infrastructure, to our growth as a city. We got a lot more people using the water. Hopefully we're gonna be expanding the tax base, so we'll see how this plays out. So by the time this is out, 4th of July will have already happened, but they are moving the fireworks, so they moved the fireworks this year. So the old spot was the AEP building, really tall building downtown. There was unhatched falcon eggs, which I thought was kind of interesting, and they don't want to disturb them. So they are moving it, or they moved it to Harrison Square parking garage. So, you know, by the time this video is released, it'll already be after the 4th of July, but I thought it was kind of interesting that, you know, we had a falcon up there and at least they were thoughtful enough to not want to disturb them. All right, we're gonna end on a positive note. So Parkview Hospital is expanding. They're expanding their pediatrics department or division or areas and services. So they are partnering with a hospital out of Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And apparently we've had this partnership for a long time, but they are looking to expand services and care for children, specialized services. So that way, if people have a rare illness or something very serious, they don't have to go out of the area to get care. This is wonderful news. And my friend, Dr. Tony Giacquini, is also my children's pediatrician. I love that man. He said that this is kind of building on a 15-year collaboration that we've already had. And again, the goal is to get kids to have more specialized access locally. And as a growing city, I mean, hopefully that you would hope that that would happen, but now it is happening. It's very exciting. And he said that this, Dr. G also said this partnership will be tied to future expansion plans. And they're also hoping to eventually add a pediatric emergency department. So, you know, as a father of 6, there's nothing worse than a injured or a sick child. And thankfully, I've been very blessed. A few broken bones, a few illnesses here. I again, I'm very blessed to say that I haven't had to deal with, you know, serious illness with my children, and I'm very thankful for that. But for those who have, you know, it's very traumatic. And so having that care here locally is just awesome. You know, again, it's one of those things you pray you never need it, but when you need it, it's good to know that it's here. And knowing that my friend Tony, Dr. G, is behind it is awesome. So thank you if you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Also, I've had a few people comment that they didn't realize they were missing some of my videos. If you hit the notification button, it can let you know when we post a video. So please comment where you're watching from. I did that in the last video and I got a lot of cool responses. We had people from California, Delaware, some local people. I thought that was very cool. So please leave where you're watching from in the comments. Again, I appreciate your viewership and we'll catch you on the next video.